Hello, 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 and welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Jameelah, and I am a master manifester, and so are you. I'm sure if you're watching content like these and you're on this journey of self-development, which you're probably going to be on for the rest of your life, and you know that, and you're good with it because you're a master manifester, and it is the way it is, right? The name of my channel is Manifesting Magic with Dr. J. I'm Dr. J. And let's get started. What I'm discussing today is, first, there was this little thought that I had earlier on my way. I was coming back from yoga this morning, and hence the workout clothes. I'll get out of them in a second, but I wanted to do this video. I told myself I was going to slow down when I start these videos because what am I rushing for? Sometimes you are penalized for simply being a witness to someone else's lowest points. Sometimes we are penalized for simply being a witness to someone else's lowest points in life. I find that to be very interesting because I think we walk through life sometime and we think that we're going to have these clear-cut lines about who did something wrong and then who did something right. If a friendship doesn't work, who's to blame and what went wrong in it? And we can clearly point out these things. Sometimes it has nothing to do with the connection of the two people. It has more to do with the ideas and belief system that one person may have about themselves and how that reacts to the combination of the people, the two people. Because you can have like someone else who's feeling really good about themselves and feeling really happy and okay with where they have created, what they have created in their life and space. And even if you don't like it, they like it, whatever. And then you have another person who may not be feeling like that, who may not be thriving at that moment, thriving emotionally, thriving spiritually, those sort of things. Sometimes a person who just happens to be in the vicinity of a person who's not thriving in the way that they would choose to gets penalized just for being there. So I wanted to just kind of put that out there. Sometimes we lose friendships and connections in relationships and all those things, and it has nothing to do with the two people doing anything negative to each other. You just happen to be there at a time when the person was not at their best. And that is a common thing, right? That is not what I was talking about on this video. That thought just hit me a second ago. What I'm talking about on this video is when you come in contact with certain types of relationships, say if it was a negative relationship or you did have a negative experience with someone, you call it negative. When you think back, the minute the person's head, face, or name pops up in your head, you're just like, ugh, there's an energy that comes over you and you're just like, ugh, or meh, or You know, everybody, there's a little something for everybody that don't rub right with you. It's like, oh yeah, that person, whatever it is. Everybody's had those type of connections, right? And when you walk away from them, I think the biggest mistake that we can make, especially if we're on the journey of learning how to manifest the life we choose and trying to create better relationships, I think when you walk away, the biggest thing that you can lie to yourself about is to think that they were doing something wrong and you somehow escaped their negative energy and what they had created, right? I'm a firm believer that if someone else is in a negative space and you're sitting with them in that negative space, then you both are on the same wavelength of attraction. When you're no longer on the same wavelength, you won't even discuss the person in a way that makes it seem like they were so negative to you and they impacted you and you couldn't wait to get away from them, that sort of thing, right? So when you have any relationship, you have to be able to cut these, what they call soul ties, if it's something that does not serve you. The best way to cut soul ties is to, number one, focus on something that was positive in the relationship. There's always something, right? Say if you had a terrible relationship with your mom, or you had a terrible relationship with your dad, maybe he was an absent father, maybe your mom was an absent mother, maybe you have terrible, maybe competitive or negative relationships with your siblings, or whatever those things are. There has to be something in it that is positive, because that is what all relationships are. There's nothing that is all awful, 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 awful. And these, what I'm talking about, are relationships that you're actively involved in, not abusive ones, not reckless and negative and toxic relationships. But I mean, like with people that are at similar levels of you, and you just didn't click. You know, there's people like that in the workplace. I know them all, right? And you just didn't, you're just like, what is positive about that person? Oh yeah, they do a really good job, even though they're horribly annoying to everyone, right? So that's something. Focus on a positive thing. It helps you release that negative energy. And think about when you're done with this person, or when you move on from the relationship, not done with it, how are you different after they came into your space? How are you different? And think about that difference. What difference are you allowing yourself to be? Are you being the positive difference? Or you being the negative difference? And all difference is okay. And sometimes we're just like, man, I don't see why I've changed yet. And that's perfectly fine too. Sometimes it's 10 years later that you see a person's impact in your life. I know that's classic for parents, right? Some things my mom went on and on about, I don't see until today. Because I got a 12 and a 14-year-old, and just like, oh, I see what she meant. Yeah, they are ungrateful. We were ungrateful. We were always ungrateful. If we didn't like the taste of a treat, we were ungrateful. If we didn't if we didn't want to wear a sock with a hole in it, we're ungrateful. You know, it was a defense mechanism, I think, for not being able to provide more. I think some parents do that. And they just tell their children that they're wrong for wanting something really specific, right? So, and then when you get older, you don't know how to ask for really specific things because you feel like you're wrong for asking for it, right? So you think about it, how am I different after this interaction? How have I changed in any way? Have I changed for the better? Have I changed for the worse? Did this person make me put up more walls, or did interacting with them make me feel like I'm breaking down all the walls? I want all love. I want everything exposed because I don't want anybody in my space where I just can't expose my truth to. That's too suffocating for me. How are you different? And then after thinking about how you different, think about, how am I better after this connection? Like, what is better in my life, right? So some people, they connect with others, certain friends, they say you're the best of you're a culmination of the top 5 people that you spend your time with. So what are some of those things that's rubbed off on you with some people that you've spent your time with? How are you better? I know being around, for a while, being around different female friends and stuff like that, even though I didn't have those connections anymore, those relationships, or either we might have outgrown each other, and somebody had to cut ties because it was stagnant energy. And how are you better because of it? Well, I look back and I'm like, I witnessed a lot of courage in the women that I have been around in my life. I've witnessed a lot of confidence, and I've witnessed a lot of putting it all on the line with children and trying to make the magic happen in their lives. I respect that so much because it's not the easiest road to take. The easiest road to take is to do exactly what society tells you to do. Go to high school, go to college, go to work, get a good job, save for retirement, then travel, blah, blah, blah. But if you're trying to create something different because that just doesn't suit you, it takes a lot of courage. Believe me, I've stepped out on that limb so many times without anything holding me up, and somehow the universe has always supported me. It takes a lot of courage to be hungry enough to not see anything but your plan. And I'm trying to gain some of that courage back because I feel like I've lost it over the past few years. I've gotten too comfortable. Another thing is, how am I not so great? We've talked about that a little bit. When people come into our space and things happen that we don't like, a lot of times we take on the negative and then we use that as a reason for us to block out everyone or to treat everyone after that a certain way. And that's just not acceptable because you've allowed a 10-minute relationship to have a lifelong effect on your whole entire approach to how you see people, right? And then something that I usually do if I'm trying to break soul ties and then trying to get the lessons out of it, I pray for the lesson, trying to figure it out. A lot of times people don't pray. When I say pray, I mean meditate, deep contemplation, not just some words that you learned when you were a little kid and you can repeat, right? I grew up Muslim, We learned all our prayers in Arabic. I knew some in English, but I say a lot of my prayer felt like chanting, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, Ihdina sirata al-mustaqim, sirata allazina alayhim, Ghayra maghdubi alayhim waladallin, Ameen. Ask me what that means in English. I know a little bit of what it means, but I learned all my prayers in another language. So when I say pray, I don't necessarily mean like pray in a way that, you've been taught maybe traditionally as a kid. Pray in a way that you are having a deep conversation with yourself, and if you can see it, having a deep conversation with, the universe, having a deep conversation with who you feel the creator is, with the end all and be all of this creation that we are residing in, right? Pray for it, because sometimes we don't release it. We keep trying to figure it out in our head, doing mathematical equations. Well, if that's like this, then this should be able to fix this. And if that's like that, this should be able to fix that. And it doesn't always work like that on paper. It will, but not in real life. And then after you pray for the lesson, then just be grateful that the answer has come to you. I gave away something yesterday that I had been struggling with. And it's so funny because I walked out of my front door right after that, and there was a little puzzle piece on the floor. I grabbed it. I thought it was one of my puzzle pieces. I was like, I lost the piece, because I'm just really paranoid about losing a piece of puzzle. And I get to the end and it's like a one puzzle piece missing. It's awful. So I saw the puzzle piece, but it didn't look familiar. And I'm like, oh, it's a really good puzzle. The pieces were really, because I know quality types of puzzles, not dollar store puzzles. I'm like, this is a high quality puzzle. And it just was beige. There was nothing that indicated what it belonged to. So I just picked it up and put it in my pocket. But I took it for myself as a symbol that you're going to discover the pieces of this puzzle that you are currently in. So right now it doesn't make sense to you, but the answers are going to show up. And they're going to show up as easy as how you walked out that front door and stumbled over that puzzle piece sitting there, right? And so keep that in mind. Just try to be grateful as much as you can for the resolution, because anything that's lasting in your life that's negative, or a relationship or something like that, or a connection or a friendship or work environment, anything you see that way, you always have to remember that it's going to go away. Everything goes away. We're going to go away. And if I start thinking that deep, then I won't do anything in life. I'll be a vagabond, because I'm like, what's the point? We are going to go away. But I'm trying to not think like that. And so this is, you want to make some magic in this life and see what you can do in it. The best thing to do is be grateful. Take something from all these connections that you're creating in life. Learn how to break the soul ties if there's any type of negative connections that you're holding on to with the past. And I know women, we do this, especially with children, with people that we've had children for. Those are like some of the deepest connections. They're like claws in us. And the person, it hasn't even existed in our life in 15 years, but they're mind actors. They're playing in our space all the time. They're influencing the way we make decisions, and we have to be mindful of that, because then that means we're not taking the most positive outcome out of any relationships and any connections or any jobs or any adventures, anything we've been on. Focus on the positive. Think about how are you different in this thing. Think about whether you're better. Think about whether you're just not so great anymore because of it. Pray for the lesson in it, and then just be grateful that it's all already solved. Anyway, I hope this message helps people today, because it was heavy on my mind. I was very excited about that. What else? That's all, right? And I hope you all have a wonderful, wonderful, peaceful, blissful, uplifting day in life. Because let me tell you, feeling bad about anything is no good for anybody. And so my hope and goal is that everybody can feel the bliss of contentment, because contentment is very blissful, and the bliss of being satisfied in who you are and what you are and where you are in life. And I hope you all have a wonderful, wonderful day.